LinkedIn is my favorite app on the internet, not because it's good, because it is the single most concentrated source of unhinged, delusional content produced by human beings with professional headshots. This is the platform where operations managers, project managers, accounting managers, and people whose entire job title is the word manager come to share their confident opinions about everything, especially things they've never actually done. And something shifted about a year ago. All of these people discovered ChatGPT at the same time, and instead of quietly using it to fix their emails, they started generating low-effort articles about how ChatGPT was helping them 10 times their productivity. Then they found Claude and started writing low-effort articles about how Claude was helping them 10 times their ChatGPT 10 times. The compounding returns on delusion were extraordinary. These are the people who spent 2024 hyping up vibe coding so aggressively that Collins Dictionary declared it the word of the year in November. Vibe coding was going to change everything. It would finally make those weird antisocial engineers with their high salaries obsolete. It would transform every operations manager into a millionaire solopreneur. It would let companies gut their engineering headcount and replace it with vibes and a ChatGPT subscription. And now, exactly 1 year after vibe coding was formally named, those same people are generating low-effort articles about how vibe coding is dead. But don't get too comfortable, because we are not done. The next iteration is already here. We are replacing vibe coding with something called vibe engineering or agentic engineering, depending on which LinkedIn post you read this morning. My honest prediction is that we need another 6 to 12 months before the industry quietly drops the vibe and agentic branding entirely. And we all agree to go back to calling the process of building software what it has always been called, engineering. So what exactly is agentic engineering? Brace yourself, you write a specification describing what the software is supposed to do before you build it. Then you break the work into smaller, well-defined tasks. A practice called task decomposition, which is covered in the first 2 weeks of any computer science degree and also in approximately every project management certification your manager already has framed on their office wall. Then you review the code carefully before merging it. And if the review process is taking too long, you might just write that piece yourself. Exactly the way developers have handled slow delegations since the beginning of software. We are, in other words, slowly returning to building software the way we built software 2 years ago. We are just calling it a revolutionary new methodology, so the content pipeline stays warm. What actually happened here is not complicated. A large number of non-engineers got extremely excited that AI would let them skip the engineering part of software engineering. They tried it. The software was bad. Now they are rebranding, doing it properly as an innovation, giving it a new name, and continuing to generate content about it. There is a real and important distinction that got deliberately blurred over the past year. There is a meaningful difference between someone with no technical background vibe coding an app and an actual software engineer using AI to accelerate their work. The process can look identical on the surface. The outcomes are not even close. A surgeon and a YouTube tutorial can both involve the same scalpel. One of them ends better. The argument that kept appearing on LinkedIn was this: code has evolved from assembly language to high-level languages and now to plain English. So if English can build software, anyone can build software. And we are all the protagonists of our own social network movie.
Did you like being nobody? Did you like being a joke? Do you want to go back to...
Here is the problem with that argument. Plain English is now being aggressively compressed to reduce token costs. Plugins that strip your prompts down to caveman syntax are genuinely popular right now because it turns out that Make Button Blue is significantly cheaper than Please assist me in modifying the visual presentation of the aforementioned interactive element to reflect the chromatic properties of the ocean. We were told AI would make software development more human. Instead, it is teaching humans to communicate like they are conserving oxygen. And here is the real punchline. If you find yourself typing update auth, no fluff, just code, no mistakes, you have invented an extremely expensive and inefficient version of a programming language. Congratulations on your innovation. Now, to be clear about where I actually stand on this, AI is real. AI is not going away. It will disrupt industries, it will displace certain jobs, and it has genuinely useful applications that are worth taking seriously. The economics don't fully make sense yet. We are still in the customer acquisition phase where these services are being sold below cost. But the technology is happening, and anyone pretending otherwise is fighting the wrong battle. The issue is that this is not enough for a certain type of person. Humans using AI as a tool while keeping their jobs is not disruptive enough, not efficient enough, and most importantly, does not generate enough engagement. So instead we get confident tweets from people who are absolutely certain that the next major model release will make every software company on Earth obsolete. And then the next model drops, and the reception on the actual user communities is that it hallucinates more, ignores instructions, fabricates search results, invents fictional colleagues, pads responses with filler, and burns through usage limits faster than its predecessor for demonstrably worse output. Someone noted it kept trying to call it a day or pick this up later after just a few exchanges, which honestly is extremely relatable behavior, but not what you want from infrastructure you are paying for. If vibe coding was the word of 2025, I expect the word of 2026 to be plateauing. Here is some genuinely useful historical context before we close. When Grace Hopper and her colleagues designed COBOL in the late 1950s, Common Business-Oriented Language, the explicit goal was to let managers and non-programmers read and write code in plain English syntax. The democratization of programming. Sound familiar? COBOL became the backbone of global finance and still runs a significant portion of it today. But it completely failed Hopper's original vision. Non-technical managers never actually maintained the code. What happened instead is that engineers were forced to write extraordinarily verbose, rigid, difficult to maintain programs. And because the language was designed to be readable rather than precise, early programmers started cutting corners on memory, like storing years as 2 digits instead of 4. That shortcut eventually became the Y2K bug, which cost billions of dollars to remediate and required pulling retired COBOL engineers back out of their lives to fix problems that the business managers, who were theoretically supposed to be able to read the code, could not touch. The pattern is not new. Every decade or so, someone redesigns programming to be accessible to non-programmers. And every time, what actually happens is that programmers adopt a new tool and non-programmers remain non-programmers. The gap doesn't close. It just gets more expensive to maintain. The conclusion here is not subtle. Vibe coding with non-technical people does not produce good software. As code generation gets cheaper, everything downstream gets more expensive. Teams deal with higher code churn, large volumes of generated code that gets rewritten, patched, or thrown out quickly. Developers shift from writing to reviewing, integrating, and debugging, and those are the activities where genuine technical judgment is irreplaceable. Less time goes into typing, more time goes into figuring out why something that looked right is silently wrong. That is where the real cost lives, not in generation, in judgment. The engineers your operations manager was so excited to replace are still here. They are just doing different work, and in some cases, harder work. The vibes did not replace the engineering. They created more of it.
See you next time.